Hi everyone, this is our first webinar on the PATForm. So the PATForm is our end-to-end PAT deployment platform. It's been on our website for a little while now, and all the moving pieces have been in place for a little while. But we're finding that not many people kind of understand how it all fits together. So we've organized this webinar to kind of show you how it all fits, from data acquisition through to modeling, all of your regulatory requirements and approval steps for all your assets in Vault, and then moving on to ProAccess where you would deploy in a GMP mode. So this will take a little bit of time. There are a lot of moving pieces. Um, I tend to sometimes forget some user passwords and stuff, but we'll get there in the end. So yeah, this is the website. It shows you all the moving pieces together. You've got Vector Director and ProAccess. You can use both of these platforms to connect to your hardware using one of our instrument driver plugins. You would typically collect your data then, as the PAT is set up in your platform, your process. Then you would import that data directly into Vector Director. Same file format. You don't have to open multiple software. It's all in the same documented software platform, and that will come straight into Vector Director. Do all your modeling, get your models ready, send that to Vector Vault for approval. An approver locally would approve the data. The developer then can import those models into ProAccess and create a ProAccess method that gets sent to Vector Vault again for approval. And once approved there, you can then use that, assign that method to an operator and run it in GMP mode. So we'll go from step one, which being data acquisition. I'm in ProAccess at the moment, but let me just move over to Vector Director and show you how VBox works. So VBox is our solution for organizations that want to have a server client sort of set up. With Vector Director, you typically are going to have like a single user license, and as per our end user license agreement, when that person leaves, the license kind of goes with them. So VBox gives you more flexibility with your users. If somebody leaves, you can reassign that license to somebody else. So you would have the VBox Manager server installed somewhere locally. It can be on a virtual machine, can be on just a laptop, can be on a server, and you just need line of sight to that. Can be VPN from your home, can be on site within your network. So this has on it, I'll just sign in. So I've logged in as an administrator. You can add as many administrators as you want. Just search your local network and just add them. Just remember to hit save all. And on this activation, we've currently got 5 maximum users and five simultaneous users. So that means that if A, B, C, D, E are added as users and A leaves the organization, you can reassign that seat to somebody else. At the moment, we don't have anyone connected. So what we're going to do is pretend like we are a Vector Director client. The way you connect these up, you can see at the front here, it says controlled by VBox server. So this is our client edition. When you try to connect the first time, you'll get this error saying that you're not registered. And what happens is in VBox, that gets picked up in the user approval. So you can see that was KAXG group. The administrator can approve that connection, and then that user will get added here once we log on for the first time. So if we try again, you see we've logged in. Oops. And now you can see that that is connected and one of those seats has been taken up. So the administrator can see, who's using VBox, who's sort of like left their client on forever and ever, who's hogging the system. There's a few information like who's been using. You can also kick users off. So this will force the user to save. Well, they get a notification that it's going to shut down in, I think it's like a minute or something. So they got a minute to save their construction zone and then they'll get kicked off. And yeah, we can have a whole bunch of different, what's going on there? Not letting me go back to, there we go. Designs here, so you could have, um, 5 simultaneous, but have like 15 people. So there's no limit to that. We can just control that with the activation key. And for those who haven't been up to date, we've now got this license file. It's not a activation key anymore. So with the file, we're able to add multiple keys to that file. So we produce a file, send it to you. You upload that file here, and then multiple products can get activated at the same time. So let's go to Vector Director. And just want to show you our new plugin store. These are our plugins. You can drag any of these to the right and click on it and activate, and you'll get a free 2-week trial. The Centronic on this one has already been used, so it won't let me activate that. But all of these, you can trial them for 2 weeks, have a go with them and see if you like them, and then purchase them if you want. So you can see the VRV on here, which I'm going to demonstrate today as the PAT source, is already activated. And so if you go to the data screen, you'll see our instrument driver here. And so in Vector Director and ProAxis, you can connect to your PAT using one of our instrument drivers to collect your data. So this can be saved and import the data straight into Vector Director, or if you were in ProAxis, you would have your process already set up so that you collect your PAT in the way that you want it to predict future samples. So this would be the preferred option. But I might just use Vector Director today. Okay, so it's not detecting because it's already connected to ProAxis. So I will just use it in ProAxis. Okay, so this was just some test stuff I was running before. What we got set up is this mini batch blender, and I'm just going to hook over to another video now to explain that.
Okay, so what we've got here is a generic plowshare blender that we have 3D printed out of resin. It's got a inlet chute at the top, and it's got an outlet valve at the bottom. On the back end here, we've just got a motor connected to a shaft that is linked to all of the paddles, and at the back, the exit valve, is controlled by another stepper motor. So inside you've got 4 paddles, each at opposing angles, and you can see the NIR just at the top there. It's protruding into the powder because our tolerances on the 3D print are not so good at the moment. So the very front of the blender there doesn't get mixed. And so we've had to protrude the NIR a little bit into the cavity so that you get where the powder is getting mixed. And you can see that over there, that the light is penetrating through and you're getting some subcuts of the powder as it's passing through the beam there.
Okay, so we're back on ProAxis, and yeah, so the setup is not perfect, but you can see that it is picking up some differences in the powder. And if we just hit play here to collect some spectra, I'm going to get this motor running. And you can see that it is updating different parts of the powder as the blender is rotating that powder around. Okay, that's enough there. Let me just stop that. And so once you've collected your data, you can just hit generate table here and save this as a .vpb. I'm not going to put, oh, I could put it on the desktop. Let's try that. VPB being our file type. And if we go to Vector Director, we can look for our file. There it is. Okay, so we've got our data directly into Vector Director for modeling. So no need to have multiple software, the PAT software open. You can just use Vector Director, collect your data straight in, and now we can start modeling this. Before I show Vault, I'm just going to pretend what's going on with those. I want to probably get rid of those two. There's a few at the top there that I don't like. I'm not going to do any modeling with this. It's purely just for instructional purposes. Just going to create another range here and see if that gets rid of those two at the top. Yep. So let's just pretend we're going to use this data. You would make some pre-processing because your pre-processing templates are also Vault assets. Let's just do this. It's a bit noisy there, actually. All right, and save that. And let's just pretend that we've done some sort of modeling with this. All right, so we've got some assets now. So Vector Vault, as you can see here, is grayed out. And also on ProAxis, when we close this down and come here, you'll see Vector Vault here. Now, Vector Vault comes pre-packaged now with version 3 of Vector Director. ProAxis version 3 will be launched very soon and it comes pre-packaged. But you do have to turn it on in your settings. So in your settings, in the application settings, there is this thing here, Vector Vault. You got to check this so that it turns it on. And then you've got this new Vector Vault settings here. So what is Vector Vault? Vector Vault is our repository for all your assets. It's also an approval step so that you've got your local quality assurance team checking off that they've checked this asset being data pre-processing or a model and they're happy with it. So that opens up a few things for us because we've just released our Python plugin compiler as well. So if you've got some exotic pre-processing or methods that we don't support, you can then import them into Vector Director. Just connect up your outputs to our plotting architecture and then use those methods as well. So send that to Vector Vault, somebody approves that, and now you can use a Python script in a GMP setting because it's been signed off by somebody local saying that, yep, they've approved that it's doing the right thing, it's doing what it should do in the process. It's also a version control repository, so Vector Vault is going to record every life cycle of your asset so that you can come back and download it and see what happened, who did what, when, etc. So Vector Vault, similarly to VBox, um, lives somewhere on your network. It just has to have line of sight to your vector director and ProAccess. And I've logged in here as the administrator. So an administrator can add other administrators. I've actually removed the approvers and developers. So we'll add those here right now. You can add from a domain or just your local work group as well. So let's add, who's this? We've got VTU approver one from the domain. Oops, why did I do that? And let's have a look in the work group as well. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Ah, I got rid of the one I wanted. Okay, what do we got here? Right, we've got these VB approvers. So we can add those too. Okay, we've got some approvers now, and let's add some developers. Here we got VB Dev from the work group, so let's add those, and VB Dev 2. Right, so we've got some more approvers and developers. You've got a user status page that just gives you a bit of information on who's been accessing Vault. You've got your audit trail for Vector Vault here and the configuration. So this is where your administrator would set up how Vault's going to work. The options you've got is a custom tag. You can add a custom tag so that um, each asset has a specific tag. This could be a comment. It could be like a text selection where you might have like a phase ABC or something in your process, and they have to add which phase it is to each asset or something like that. You can just sort of bump out the information and metadata that gets added to every asset. So you can add those there. There's a few general settings here. With Vector Vault, what happens is if you've got a model, then that model might have used a pre-processing template, and that kind of gets connected to that model. The data gets connected to that model. So there's this item hierarchy involved. So you can't just approve the model without first approving the data and the pre-processing. So what we've done is to make it easier. If you want to just approve all of them at once, you can tick that one. We can enable multi-factor for Vector Vault, also for Vector Director and ProAccess. So what this does is it just uses the very common Android or Apple, Microsoft, Google authenticators that create that. I think it's a six digit code. We provide a QR code. You just create a new connection to Vector Vault, and that will just give you another layer of security on top of the Windows security that we already piggyback off. That is one level, and then what happens is if you lose that, we also provide sort of like one-time codes. There's 5 of those. So if you store those somewhere, you can also use one of those one-time codes. Once they all run out, your administrator can also reconnect you to a new multi-factor. But if you're the administrator and you lose that, then there's a bit of a problem. So make sure you don't do that. I think if that happens, I think there might be a backdoor, or you might have to reset your Your database for Vector Vault. Yeah, so don't do that. Make sure the administrator doesn't do that. Then you've got an email configuration. So you can set up so that each time something happens, so if a developer's made a model and uploaded it for approval, then the approver will get a notification in email saying, hey, so and so sent this, go and approve it. Once they approve it, the developer can get an email notification saying it's approved or rejected so that they can then go and do something with that. With the activation, what we've done is Vector Vault gets connected to Vector Director and ProAccess separately. So if you've got VBox, you wouldn't typically have Vector Director here, but we're doing testing and manuals and stuff. So I've got both. If you've got Vector Director, the connections, because Vector Director single user is the same kind of license, so the connection for Vault is the same. It gets connected to a single Vector Vault developer. So you have to select a developer, and once that developer is locked in, then that's it. Because we charge per connection for Vector Director, so each Vector Vault developer is a separate line item on an invoice. So with ProAccess though, because ProAccess is sold per process, so if your process has got multiple ProAccess predictions running, ProAccess is sold per process. So we don't limit the number of developers that you can have with ProAccess. So once you connect up a PC, because ProAccess is going to be installed on a PC, that PC will have a unique system identifier. Once that's activated, anyone on your local user groups can access as a Vector Vault developer. So that one is connected per PC. Vector Director and VBox is per developer. So here you can see VBDev1 has already been linked. So if we go back to Vector Director, you can test your connection here. Vector Vault at the moment is just installed on my PC. So if you have installed it on a server location or something, you'd have to put the IP address into this place. But if I test this connection, you can see it's found a connection. I can save the configuration so that it finds it easier next time. And what was that? It was VBDev1, right? So um, I think that's the password. Right. So if you see this status thing come up, and there was a notification here too, that means you're connected. And if you hit remember me here, the next time you log in, it will just automatically log in with these details. To remove that auto connection, you'd have to come in here and tick log out. All right, so this just gives you like a status of what's in Vector Vault at the moment. The other way to connect is you can see this is all lit up now, is to just click on here. What happens is, if I just log out here, you get the same window. And you'll see that like this little Vault wheel spins and this turns into color. So now we can send things to Vector Vault. So let's send this model to Vector Vault. Okay, so because this is a new construction zone, let's just save that first and send that to Vault now. Right, so we've got models, we've got data and pre-processing. With Vector Vault, the vector director name is not the same as your Vault name. So Vault name is the one that gets tracked in Vector Vault, And if you use the same vault name, then that's how it detects that it's the same asset, and then it will version control it. So if I use PCA1 here, the next time I import a model, even if it's not a PCA, if I call it PCA1, it's going to version control this to version 2. So this is the thing that you got to keep track of within your institution when using Vector Vault. So let's just call this. These are very non-specific names. I do not think these are good names to use, but for this demo, I think I've got to put something here. I just got to put some sort of text here because it's got the asterisk next to it. So typically the developer would put something like, please review this, or this is the April run for the new batch, or something like that. Export Vector Vault. So that gets sent. Okay, now you see that little wheel spinning again. Oh, VB app 1. Which password was that? Okay, was that correct? VB app 1. Might have got that wrong. BVAPP1, no space. Interesting. So that should be the right password, but let's just set the password here. It obviously is not the right password, or it would be working. BVApp1. All right, so I couldn't get the password working for VBApp1. So I've used one of the domain approvers here. And the default page you land on is the items in queue. You've also got all of the approved items. Now, this obviously, once you use it a little bit, will be a very large list. So you've got these filters available on every page to find the asset that you need. Uploaded, so this is just everything that's been uploaded and the ones that you've rejected. There's also an audit trail here, but you'll notice that ones that have got assets connected to them will be nested underneath. And when I was trying to test the emails, I used the same vault name for these extra data sets, and you can see it's picked up that it's the new vault name for data 1, so it's version controlled that to version 2 and version 3. Right, so to approve as an approver, since the admin didn't set up that hierarchy thing, we can't just approve this. You can see it's grayed out. We have to approve these first. I might say something like approved, approve this one. Approve that one. So in Vector Director, if we hit this wheel, it will sort of update Vector Vault, and you'll see that these have been approved, and our template has also been approved. Now, what if you want them to change something? Then what you do is you reject it. For example, then with rejected assets, you have to modify the the asset for it to be able to be resent to vector vault. So a rejected asset can't be sent to vector vault. If you modify that asset somehow, so starter node is already in vector vault, can you confirm whether you want to modify it? And then this will change to a modified icon, and now you can resend that to vector vault for approval. So you'd probably use the next iteration. Because there's a 3, it'll go to a 4 with more data. And let's refresh this, and we've got our version 4 here with more data, so we can accept that. Let's just reject that while we're here. Okay, so we've got our rejected list, items in queue, uploaded, and our approved items. So that's how it works. So the developer would get a notification of that. And I might grab one more data set of, let's just create that. Okay, so that we can use it in ProAccess. So let's call this PCA2. I'll just quickly approve that. And because the data set was already approved, I can just approve this now. All right. And let's just save this construction zone. So now we've got approved models that we can now bring into ProAccess. So let's connect Vector Vault here. ProAccess, remember, can be any user. So let's try to find someone who I don't think was added before. I don't think KAXG group was added to anyone. Oh, what's the password here? What was this password? Okay, I can't remember this password, unfortunately. When you got all these users and groups, it's really difficult to keep track of the passwords. And then you've got the domain set, and then you've got your work group set. And let me just use ProAccess underscore dev 1. Hopefully that one works. Oh, okay. Let me try. Might have to log into Vault here. All right. Admin. Yay. Okay. Let's just find. Okay, who's connected? VTU underscore dev1. Let's try that. Oh, I've just remembered what I've done wrong. Okay, so even though even though ProAccess is licensed per PC, you still need to add all your users here as a developer. So yeah, I still needed to add KAXG group here, and once you've added it here, then you can access here. I'm pretty sure. So it wasn't a password. Okay, cool. So we're in models. So yeah, you've got your typical adding from a construction zone, or you can now add from vector vault. So we can go to vector vault, we can choose who made what and just have a search. We can see there's those two assets that we made, and you can import those in here. So it's got a bit of metadata associated with it, and you can download that into your ProAccess. Now, unfortunately, we can't multi-select here. Apparently, it's a bit difficult to do. So next version, we will allow that, but at the moment, you do have to do that multiple times. So we've got our models in here. Now we can create a ProAccess method. So let's just close this. Drag the models here. Okay, so this is going to be, when I set up the model later on for the demo, we'll have a separate ProAccess method where we connect up to pick up the RV data as it's coming through. For this example here, I'm just going to create a quick method just to show the process with vector vault. So let's just quickly make something. Okay, and we'll just do one connection here. We'll keep it all very simple. Okay, I think I need to, no, I can just compile it now. All right, so we've got our ProAccess method. We then send that to Vault. We need Batch Blender, ProAccess. Let's try again. So similar thing. So this is that tag that we've set up as a default in Vector Vault, but you can add multiple things here, extra tags here. Okay, send that off. Oh, what were we using? VV app one. I thought it was VV app one. Okay, so again, the approver picks up. Now these are already approved, and so we can approve that now. And similarly here, we can update that. So we've now got a ProAccess method. So for those who haven't used ProAccess, ProAccess can be set up with three user groups again. You've got the administrator, a developer, and an operator. The ProAccess developer is not the same as a Vector Vault developer. So that's something you got to know. ProAccess administrators and developers will both need to have some sort of Vector Vault developer access so that they can connect to Vector Vault and pull assets from Vector Vault into ProAccess. So the administrator is going to assign ProAccess methods, and the developer is going to create methods. So at the moment, I'm creating methods, so I'm logged in as a developer. So let's try and log in as an administrator. Again, I have to remember who's an admin here. ProAccess admin. Okay, so and also you'll see that when ProAccess has got Vault enabled, they will have this thing here. All right, so this is the administrator view. You can see that there's not a lot of functionality here. You can't really do anything except assign methods to groups, to users. So here you would add your developers. When you install ProAccess, you have to tell that what, oh, I've got this open 3 times. What groups to assign as administrators, developers, and operators. So it's reading from this group here, and you can see that these are the ones that are available. You can then drag these across to add them in. So we've got 3 operators at the moment and 3 developers. And then you can either import from your construction zone if you don't have Vector Vault, or if you've got Vector Vault, this is why you need that developer access. Is that right? No. This is when it gets a bit difficult. There's just too many moving parts. VB, let's try VB Dev1. Okay, we're in. So search for your assets. So we've got this approved ProAccess method. Can import that. That comes here. You can import a whole bunch here, and then the ones that you're working on, you drag those over here. And if I click on that, you can see it's not assigned to anyone at the moment. So you can put that to your selected developer and operator users. And then if I had other ones here and I clicked on it, it would populate who's been assigned this method. So now, if I'm an operator and I log in as this operator, operators should only be seeing the methods that they've been assigned. And also, operators are going to run, hopefully, in GMP mode. So they can only get assigned approved, Vector Vault approved methods. Developers can run in sandbox or GMP mode. So they might want to test the method in GMP mode, so they can set that up, or they might want to fix the method, develop it more. So they can run in both. So let's just log in as both. I'm just going to quickly take a snap of this, so I remember. All right. I'll just keep that there. So let's log out here, save that, log out and log back in as an operator. So proaccess underscore OP1, proaccess underscore OP1. ProAccess_OP1. What did I set as these passwords? I've forgotten what I set up as those passwords. ProAccess_OP1. All right, and typically this would be your local IT doing all this stuff. Okay, so we can see that you get the message that you've got some methods applied. Oh, actually, what's going on here? ProAccess_OP1 is coming up as an operator. Well, that might be a bug. I'm going to admit that I think that is a bug. This is an alpha version of ProAccess, so something hasn't fully connected here. But this is what the developer would typically see, and then they can choose which one to go. Now, let's just double check for the operator group. Yeah, ProAccess_OP1 and developers. Yeah, so that's definitely looking like a bug there. Let's go GMP. Okay, something is not quite right there. Should say developer. Like the operator doesn't get a choice. They don't get to choose sandbox. They only get to choose GMP. So that would typically say developer, ProAccess developer, and then in GMP mode, they can't develop obviously because they're just running. So they can run this method like it's running in ProAccess, and then yeah, you can see there's something not quite finished here because this should normally show that method sort of with the plots and everything with that data plot here ready to go. So there we go. Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but it should look like this, ready to go, and you could hit start and run that. So let's try in the, since OP1 is a developer now. Let's go in sandbox. Okay, yeah, something's not right. It is picking up that it is an operator, but they shouldn't get that choice. Okay, so I've got it wrong there. Let's choose the underscore dev. I'll try KAXG because we changed that password before. Right, this would be a true developer, and if you go sandbox, it should just look like your typical ProAccess where you can um, develop your methods with bringing in your models and everything. So I just want to try logging in as KAXG, but go into GMP mode. Yeah, so you got developer there. You can only run the methods that have been assigned to you. Yep, something's quite not quite right there. All right, so what I'm going to do now, we've gone through the full um, life of a single asset. You've gone data collection, been approved, modeled, approved, imported into ProAccess, and then we've got the ProAccess method approved as well, ready for GMP collection. So what I'm going to do now is we've got some data of what we got is milk powder and rice flour, rice flour. We're just going to try and model a mixing here. Okay, so um, these are spectra that were collected on raw powder. So this is not going to work perfectly because the powder in here at the moment is already a mix actually, and we're just reusing that. So hopefully, turn the class variables on. Okay. Hopefully, all things being equal, it'll start somewhere here because there's going to be a bit of rice flour in, and then I'll dump a bunch of rice flour in. Hopefully, it moves a little bit into this direction. Won't fully go here, obviously, but might be like moving from here to like here, something like that. So I've made this pro-access method. I've put it into Vault and everything and approved everything. So let's start up this. I wonder if I can have both feeds running somehow. I wonder, I wonder, I wonder. Let me try something. Not sure if that's going to work. I don't know if you can have two teams running at the same time. Um, okay, I'll take that. I won't actually start the meeting, but if I can just have this sort of running. I suppose it doesn't need to be massive. Just bear with me a minute. Just kind of need to see that going off on the side. We've set that. I think we're ready to go. So if I hit go, right, it's reading from the NIR as we speak. Let's try and turn the motor now. All right, so we're getting powder. You can't really tell here because this is something to do with our 3D printing with resin printing. There's a bit of warpage and stuff going on. You can tell by the center shaft is actually moving around. So nothing's really straight, and the tolerances we haven't got it dialed in at the moment. So this front paddle should actually be closer to the Perspex window here. The spectrometer is sort of penetrating through the Perspex window though, so we are getting powder passing over that, and all this stuff here is just stuck to the Perspex. So that won't change. But as you can see from that video before, I can just, right, you can see maybe hopefully that there's the NIR light, and you see that it's not always covered. You're getting different parts of powder falling onto that. So let's now put some rice flour in and see what happens. I might just bump up the speed a little bit. All right. Putting the powder in now. And you can see in the score space that it's starting to move across. That's good. Let's try dumping in a bit more rice flour. I might try bump up the speed just a little bit more. Right, so it's not really moving more to the positive direction. So we've probably achieved a mix. It's kind of cycling back and forth between this sort of location. But you get the idea. So yeah, now that data could you can generate that table and take that back into Vector Director. But that's the full platform. So you've got the ID now of all the moving components. Everything is connected, single file source, same commercial off the shelf, documented platform to do everything from data collection through modeling through to process control. So hopefully that gives you a better picture of our products. And if you got any questions, please contact us anytime.